Have you ever opened your wardrobe, looked inside and thought, wow, I own absolutely nothing, but somehow my closet is still full? Or maybe you've walked into your bedroom and realized you have more empty takeout containers than actual furniture. Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, millions of people around the world are drowning in clutter, broke by the 20th every month, and still wondering where their money disappeared to. But then there's South Korea. Yes, the land of K-pop, K-drama, K-beauty, and now K-saving. These people have mastered the ancient art of living small to save big. And trust me, once you understand their secrets, you'll start looking at your giant, overcrowded house like, maybe I don't need this much chaos in my life. Walk into a typical small Korean apartment, and your brain will immediately say, wait, where's the rest of the house? But that's the magic. There is no rest of the house. Everything they need is perfectly organized, multifunctional, and smarter than most of us on a Monday morning. A bed that becomes a couch, a table that becomes a shelf that becomes a wardrobe that becomes a staircase, and a staircase that, well, probably becomes something else you didn't expect. And here's the plot twist. Koreans save a ton of money because of this tiny living lifestyle. While many of us are paying huge rent for rooms we don't even use, Koreans are quietly stacking savings in their bank accounts like it's a hobby. So today, I'm going to show you how South Koreans use small spaces, smart designs, and minimalist habits to save serious money without feeling deprived, stressed, or cramped. By the end of this video, you'll be saying, maybe I should also live small, or at least stop buying things I don't need. 2. The South Korean minimalist mindset. When you hear South Korea, you probably think of K-pop, drama, or food that makes your lips explode from spice. But there's another side of Korea that's quietly changing how people live, and it has nothing to do with singing or dancing. It's the minimalist mindset that turns tiny apartments into surprisingly efficient, money-saving, almost magical spaces. Koreans have this saying, small space churns smart space. And trust me, they're not joking. While many of us look at a 30-square-meter apartment and panic, how do people even live here without tripping over their own socks? Koreans see it as a canvas, a challenge, a puzzle, a place to show off their space-saving genius. Take the jokbang, for example. It's basically a mini-room that's so small you could do jumping jacks without moving an inch. Add a goshiwon, a tiny studio often used by students and workers, and suddenly you realize these people don't just live small, they thrive in small. They've mastered the art of fitting life, work, sleep, and occasionally a pet into a space that most of us would use just as a storage closet. And it's not just about survival, it's about functionality over size. Koreans don't care if the room is the size of a football field. What matters is how smartly you use it. Every inch has a purpose. Your bed can fold into the wall. Your table can double as a desk, a dining area, and occasionally a stage for your cat. Every square centimeter screams, I'm efficient, I'm organized, I'm not paying unnecessary rent. This mindset isn't just about being practical, it's culturally ingrained. Growing up in a country where urban space is limited and expensive, Koreans learn early that living smart is living free. They prioritize what truly matters: education, savings, career, and experiences, not oversized furniture or unnecessary clutter. So while you're probably thinking, I could never live in something that tiny, Koreans are out here turning minimalism into an art form and a serious money-saving strategy. By the end of this video, you'll see that their mindset isn't just about being frugal, it's about being strategically brilliant. And yes, it's also kind of hilarious how much life they can pack into so little space. 3. Housing costs and why living small makes sense. Now let's talk about something that will make your heart beat faster than a K-pop dance performance: South Korean housing prices. If you've ever complained that rent in your city is too high, South Korea would like you to take a seat, drink some water, and calm down, because their real estate market is on another level entirely. In places like Seoul, the price of a tiny apartment can cost more than a fully furnished house with a backyard. garden, and 2 chickens in other countries. It's so expensive that even the buildings are looking down at people like, "You want to live here? With what money?" This is why Koreans have mastered the holy art of living small. Not because they want to, but because their wallets said, "Listen, we can't fight this battle. Let's just surrender and adapt." So instead of chasing luxury mansions they can't afford, many young South Koreans choose micro-apartments, goshwons, and tiny one-room studios. And honestly, it's genius. Why pay an arm, a leg, and your future children's school fees just to have a big living room you don't even use? Koreans said no thanks and went straight for the smart option. A small space means a small bill, small rent, small electricity, small heating costs, small everything, except savings. Imagine going from paying for a 3-bedroom apartment to paying for a room the size of your imagination. Suddenly, you start saving money so fast your bank app needs a moment to process the shock. And many young people aren't just doing this because it's cheaper, they're doing it strategically. They have goals, big goals, like saving for advanced education, investing in real estate later, traveling, launching businesses, or sometimes just surviving soul. So while some of us are busy arguing with landlords about why the rent increased for the 5th time this year, Korean young adults are quietly stacking their money by choosing small, efficient spaces. Living small in Korea isn't a downgrade. It's an upgrade for your bank account. It's the financial cheat code nobody talks about. And honestly, once you see how much money they save, you might start measuring your house like, do I really need all this space? Or can I downsize and finally buy that car I've been dreaming about? 4. How Koreans maximize every inch. Now let's get into the part that truly deserves a standing ovation. How South Koreans maximize every single inch of their homes. And when I say every inch, I mean every inch. If there was a competition for most innovative use of space, Korea would win first place, second place, and honorable mention. Let's start with the legend itself, foldable furniture. Korean homes have furniture that transforms more times than a K-drama plot twist. A bed that folds into the wall, a table that becomes a shelf, a couch that flips into a desk. Sometimes you walk into a Korean apartment and genuinely wonder, where does everything go? Is there a secret dimension behind the wall? Nope. Just engineering smarter than most of us. Then we have the famous multi-purpose rooms. In Korea, one room can be your bedroom, living room, dining room, office, prayer room, yoga studio, and sometimes, depending on mood, your emotional support space. It's like the room has multiple personalities, and somehow it works beautifully. Next, built-in storage. This is where Koreans really shine. Everything is built into something. The wall, storage. The stairs, storage. Behind the mirror, more storage. Under the floor, you guessed it, storage. At this point, you start thinking, do Koreans have a secret training camp where they learn how to hide things like ninjas? And speaking of hiding things, let's talk about underbed systems. In many Korean homes, the bed is not just for sleeping, it's a storage facility. You lift the mattress and boom, instant space for clothes, shoes, blankets, gym equipment, emotional baggage, anything. It's like a giant treasure chest. But the real superstar? Wall organization culture. Koreans love hanging things on walls. Hooks, racks, magnetic boards, pegboards, everything has a place. You'll see cooking pots hanging like artwork, makeup arranged like a museum display, and cleaning supplies lined up like soldiers ready for duty. With all these tricks combined, the result is simple. Zero wasted space. Not a corner, not a shelf, not a centimeter. In a Korean home, the only thing that's allowed to waste space is absolutely nothing. And honestly, once you see how beautifully everything fits together, you start questioning your own home like, why do I have an entire room dedicated to junk I don't even use? 5. The financial benefits of living small. Now, let's talk about the part everyone's secretly waiting for, the money. Because let's be honest, if living small didn't save cash, nobody would do it willingly. But in South Korea, living small isn't just a lifestyle, It's a financial superpower. First, we have the champion of all savings, lower rent. When you move into a smaller place in South Korea, the rent feels so cheap compared to bigger apartments. Your bank account literally breathes a sigh of relief. Suddenly, you're not working just to pay your landlord's children's school fees. You're actually keeping money for yourself. Imagine that. Then there's lower electricity and heating bills. A tiny room doesn't need much energy to warm up. You can turn on the heater for 3 minutes and boom, the whole place is toasty. Unlike big houses where you spend half your salary trying to heat a living room the size of a football field, Korean micro-apartments say, "Relax, I got you." Even your electric bill looks at you like, wow, who is this new responsible version of you? Next up, lower cleaning and maintenance. You know the feeling of cleaning a big room. It feels like a part-time job with no salary. But in a Korean tiny apartment, you can clean the entire space in 10 minutes flat. 5 minutes if you're in a good mood, and 2 minutes if your mom calls and says, "I'm coming over." No expensive repairs, no giant equipment, no drama. Now for the big one, fewer things and less spending. This is the minimalist cheat code. When you live in a tiny space, you physically cannot buy nonsense. Your room won't allow it. Thinking of buying a huge sofa? Your apartment says, "Try it if you dare." Want to buy 5 pairs of shoes you'll never wear? Your closet whispers, "We don't have the facilities for that, boss." So naturally, you start spending less, because there's simply no space for impulsive shopping. And where does all that saved money go? Straight into investments, education, travel, business, or actual goals, instead of disappearing into clutter or bills. Living small in Korea isn't just cute, it's financially gangster. 6. Korean minimalist shopping habits. Now let's step into the Korean shopping mindset, because trust me, this is where the real magic happens. While some of us enter a supermarket and instantly lose self-control, Koreans walk in with the discipline of a monk and the precision of a ninja. Their shopping habits are so minimalistic, even their receipts look like a diet plan. First, there's the ultimate rule: buy only essentials. Koreans don't stroll through the store, throwing random items into their cart like they're on a game show. No, they come with a mission: get what you need, pay, leave. If it's not necessary, it's not coming home. Imagine going shopping and not buying snacks you don't need. Koreans actually do that. Then comes quality over quantity. Instead of buying 10 cheap items that will break in 2 weeks, Koreans prefer one good item that will last a decade. You'll see a Korean person buying one perfect frying pan and treating it like it's a family member. Meanwhile, the rest of us buy a set of 6 pans for $5 and wonder why the handle falls off after the second use. But here's the real ninja move, the one-in, one-out rule. This is an elite discipline. For every new item they bring into the house, an old item must leave. Buy a new shirt, say goodbye to an old one. Buy a new mug, donate the slightly cracked one. Buy a new pair of shoes, your old dusty sneakers must retire. It's like maintaining balance in the universe. Another genius habit is small fridges. Less food waste. Korean fridges are tiny, adorably tiny. This means they buy only what they need and actually finish it. There's no forgotten food in the back turning into a science experiment. Everything is fresh, everything is eaten, everything is intentional. And finally, no hoarding culture. In many Korean homes, clutter is the enemy. You will not find 37 plastic bags under the sink, 18 expired spices, or 5 broken umbrellas. Koreans have mastered the art of letting go because hoarding takes space, energy, and money. Put all these habits together and what do you get? A lifestyle that's clean, intentional, disciplined, and financially smart without feeling deprived. 7. The popular one-room apartment lifestyle. Now let's talk about the true celebrity of Korean housing, the legendary one-room apartment. Yes, the famous one-room that millions of young Koreans proudly call home. And before you laugh, let me warn you, you might fall in love with it too. A one-room apartment in Korea is exactly what it sounds like. One room that does everything. It's your bedroom, your living room, your kitchen, your study area, and sometimes your crisis management center when life gets stressful. But the magic is, it doesn't feel cramped, it feels smart. Why do millions choose it? Number one, the cost. Compared to big apartments that require you to sell your soul, your ancestors, and maybe your future children just to afford rent, one-room studios are surprisingly affordable. And in a country where rent can sometimes cost more than a small spaceship, anything affordable becomes an instant national treasure. Plus, one-rooms are extremely modern and luxurious in a tiny, adorable kind of way. You walk in expecting a small shoebox, and suddenly you're greeted with bright white interiors, elegant lighting, sleek built-in cabinets, warm wooden floors, and a bathroom so clean it looks like it was blessed by angels. Some even have loft designs, which are basically the Korean version of saying, "I live small, but I'm stylish." The loft gives you a separate sleeping area above, while your main space below becomes a tidy, efficient mini apartment. It feels like living inside a Pinterest board. And the layouts? Pure genius. Storage under the bed, shelves built into walls, kitchen counters that double as dining tables, closets that disappear into the wall. Every corner is used intentionally. You start walking around thinking, who designed this? A wizard? One-room apartments also give people financial freedom. Smaller rent, smaller bills, and fewer items to maintain means more savings for education, investments, travel, or pure enjoyment of life. That's why young professionals, students, and even new workers choose the one-room lifestyle. It's modern, efficient, and wallet-friendly. In a world where many people feel pressured to live big to look successful, Korea shows you that success can fit inside one beautiful, well-designed room. We do how technology helps Koreans live small. Now let's move to another reason Koreans have mastered small living: technology. And listen, Koreans don't play when it comes to tech. While some of us are still arguing with our remote control to change the channel, Koreans are controlling their entire home with their phone. First, the smart appliances. Korean tiny apartments come with devices that make you question your own life choices. There are micro washing machines, mini dishwashers, compact ovens, and refrigerators are so smart they might send you a text message like, "Hey, your milk is about to expire." Everything is optimized for small spaces, but still feels premium. Then there are space-saving washing machines. You think your washing machine is small? Korean washing machines are so compact they could probably fit under your desk. And they still wash clothes better than your giant machine at home that sounds like it's about to take off into space. Some apartments even have combined washer-dryer units, because who has space for two machines? Koreans said, let's combine them and save space and time. Genius. Now let's talk about smart home systems. Lights that turn on automatically, doors you unlock with your phone, temperature control that adjusts based on your mood. Okay, maybe not mood, but clothes. You can lay in bed, tap your phone, and suddenly your room transforms. Lights dim, temperature adjusts. Music plays. You feel like Iron Man in a 15-square-meter apartment. And here comes the big secret. Digital life, fewer physical items. Koreans rely heavily on digital tools, which reduces clutter dramatically. Digital calendars instead of big planners. Online banking instead of bulky paperwork. E-books instead of shelves full of books. Digital notes instead of piles of notebooks. Cloud storage instead of drawers full of documents. Online streaming instead of DVDs. Does anyone still use DVDs? Because everything is digital, physical stuff becomes unnecessary. And fewer physical items. Less clutter. More space. Happier life. Technology in Korea doesn't just make life easier, it makes small living feel luxurious. Imagine living in a tiny apartment, but feeling like you're in a futuristic pod designed by NASA and decorated by a minimalist artist. That's the Korean way. In emotional and mental benefits, let's be honest, clutter doesn't just take up space, it takes up peace of mind. And this is where Koreans have cracked the code. Living small isn't just a physical lifestyle, it's an emotional upgrade. There's less clutter, choose less stress. Have you ever walked into a messy room and instantly felt your blood pressure rise? Your brain is like, we are under attack. Fight or flight! But when you step into a tiny, clean Korean one-room apartment, the effect is the opposite. Your soul just goes, ah, finally. No piles of clothes, no random objects everywhere, no chaos screaming for attention. Just calm, order, and peace. Next, it's easier to clean. Way easier. In a small Korean room, you can literally clean the entire home in the time it takes someone in a big house to find the mop. 10 minutes and you're done. 5 minutes if you're listening to K-pop. 2 minutes if someone texts, "I'm coming over." Imagine living in a space so small and efficient that cleaning becomes almost cute. Then comes the best part. More time for everything else. Because you're not busy cleaning, rearranging, dusting, and fighting your belongings every day, you suddenly have more hours in your life. More time for work, more time for relationships, more time to eat ramen and watch Netflix without guilt, more time to actually live instead of managing your environment. And here's a secret Korea doesn't advertise loudly. Minimalism is therapy, not the expensive kind where someone asks you, "How does that make you feel?" But the calm kind where the environment itself heals your mind. Small spaces force you to choose what really matters. Your favorite clothes, your meaningful items, your essentials. Everything unnecessary falls away. Living small allows you to breathe, to think clearly, to disconnect from material pressure and reconnect with yourself. That's why many Koreans say, "A tidy room is a tidy mind." And honestly, they're not wrong. 10. Final breakdown. What the world can learn. All right, let's wrap this up with some truth the world needs to learn from South Korea's one-room magic. First of all, living small does not mean living poor. Let's debunk that myth immediately. Koreans have proven that a smaller home can actually feel more beautiful, modern, luxurious, and well-designed than a big, chaotic house stuffed with unnecessary things. It's not about size, it's about smartness. And here's the powerful lesson. Smaller spaces, bigger savings. While many people chase bigger houses, bigger furniture, bigger everything, Koreans are quietly stacking money. Their electricity bills are small. Their rent is manageable. Their cleaning time is low. Their stress levels are down. And their savings? Up, up, up. If you're watching this and thinking, "Maybe I should try this," yes, you absolutely should. Start small. Declutter one drawer. No buy challenge for 1 week. Adopt the one-in, one-out rule. Reduce things you don't use. Try reorganizing your room Korean style. You don't need to move to Seoul. You don't need to shrink your life dramatically. Just start with simple minimalist habits and watch how your mind gets lighter and your wallet gets heavier. So what can the world learn? That peace is better than clutter. That small can be powerful. That intentional living is the real luxury. And that minimalism isn't punishment, it's freedom. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't leave your room when visitors come. Stay a little and hit like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments, would you try the Korean small living lifestyle? Because who knows, your next big blessing might actually start in a small space.